is conventional and conditional. Stimulations, which act only on condition they encounter agents conditioned to perceive them, tend to impose themselves unconditionally and necessarily when inculcation of the arbitrary abolishes the arbitrariness of both the inculcation of both the inculcate, completely reversing the tendency of objectivism. We can on the contrary seek in the scientific theory of probabilities or strategies not an anthropological model of practice, but the elements of a negative description of the implicit logic of the spontaneous interpretation of statistics, e.g. the propensity to privilege early experiences, which the scientific theory necessarily contains because it is explicitly constructed against that logic. Unlike the estimation of probabilities which science constructs methodically on the basis of controlled experiments from data established according to precise rules, practical evaluation of the likelihood of the success of a given action in a given situation brings into play a whole body of wisdom, sayings, commonplaces, ethical precepts that's not for the likes of us, and at a deeper level, the unconscious principles of the ethos which, being the product of a learning process dominated by a determinate type of objective regularities, determines reasonable and unreasonable conduct for every agent subjected to those regularities. 20 We are no sooner acquainted with the impossibility of satisfying any desire, says Hume in a treatise of human nature, than the desire itself vanishes. And Marx in the economic and philosophical manuscripts, if I have no money for travel, I have no need, i.e. no real real and self-realizing need to travel. If I have a vocation to study, but no money for it, I have no vocation to study, i.e. no real, true vocation. Because the dispositions durably inculcated by objective conditions, which science apprehends through statistical regularities as the probabilities objectively attached to a group or class, engender aspirations and practices objectively compatible with those objective requirements, the most improbable practices are excluded either totally without examination as unthinkable, or at the cost of the double negation which inclines agents to make a virtue of necessity, that is, to refuse what is anyway refused, and to love the inevitable. The very conditions of production of the ethos necessity made into a virtue are such that the expectations to which it gives rise tend to ignore the restriction to which the validity of any calculus of probabilities is subordinated, namely that the conditions of the experiment should not have been modified. Unlike scientific estimations, which are corrected after each experiment in accordance with rigorous rules of calculation, practical estimates give disproportionate weight to early experiences, the structures characteristic of a determinate type of conditions of existence through the economic and social necessity which they bring to bear on the relatively autonomous universe of family relationships, or more precisely, through the mediation of the specifically familial manifestations of this external necessity, sexual division of labor, domestic morality, care, strife, tastes, etc. Produce the structures of the habitus which become in turn the basis of perception and appreciation of all subsequent experience.